there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, I got this gorgeous bold stamp here. This is, I guess it could be like a flower, or it could just be, I don't know, any kind of design that you wanted to use it for. But before we even get started, here are some alternatives. Have a look through your stencil stash, see if you have one that is round and has a pattern to it or anything like that. This is going to work exactly the same as the stamp. So you'll see what I get up to in just a minute. But for this one, this is, I think it is a silicone stamp. This is from Alina's shop, and I'm going to put it in a stamp positioner. This one I get so many questions about. I got this from Lincraft here in New Zealand. I know that the Australian Lincraft sells them as well, and I do know that they have changed the design since, which is such a shame because this is my favorite stamping tool, and it was also very affordable. Now, I do think that there are some, people have told me there are some on Amazon that are very, very similar, if not the same, just have a different brand to them. And the next question that I get asked a lot is about the magnet covers, and yes, they came with this stamping tool. You can still buy replacements exactly like this though, and you can do that on the Lincraft site or in-store. At least here where I am, I'm able to get them in-store still, but they are definitely online. So here you can just see that I have used 3 different Distress Oxide stamps, and I stamped them a lot of times. I honestly don't find Distress Oxides to be the best stampers at all, and that's not really their main purpose, but they can stamp well if you are able to repeat it and things. So that's what I relied upon here. Then I'm going to add a layer of VersaMark sticky embossing ink, and in fact, just because I have it in my stamping platform, I'm able to do it twice because it's a really big, large stamp. And I'm going to cover this in clear embossing powder. I always recommend buying the super fine embossing powders because that way you can do really intricate details as well as these nice big bold stamps and things, but all using the one powder. You don't need to buy the regular kind and the super fine kind as well. You could definitely skip this step if you wanted to. It's just an extra step and it locks in that ink, so I know that I can't smudge it or do anything like that, and it also gives it that beautiful shine which will look really gorgeous at the end as well. Now there are kind of a couple of ways that you could go with today's card. You could create it like a spinner like I'm going to, or just make it into a kind of standstill card front, and both would look really nice. Now I am going to fussy cut this out, and if you didn't want to fussy cut it out, then putting it into just a circle using a circle die to cut it out would work just as fine. The reason that I chose to fussy cut it is so that when the recipient kind of spins the card, it's kind of easier to grab onto with those extra little bits kind of poking out the edges there. But honestly, a circle would look beautiful as well. And also, if you didn't like the white in the center there of the stamp, because we have used the embossing powder, it would create a resist. So you could add more ink and fill in that white ink and then just wipe it off all of the embossing powder after you had ink blended, and that would look gorgeous as well. So you can see all of that gorgeous shine. Now, because I want to turn this into a spinner, I'm going to do the really simple version of a spinner. And there is definitely one big drawback of it, but it doesn't bother me because I don't love doing complicated cards. I often don't have enough time to do really complicated versions, so this works really well for me. Now I have the All the Little Things stamp set here. This is an old favorite. You guys have seen this a lot. But I do love nothing more than a very versatile stamp set. So I'm picking out 6 words here that describe this person that I'm going to give this to. And these are going to feature on my spinner. So I'm just kind of going through. Some of them are wonderful, amazing, thoughtful, just whatever words I felt worked. Then I'm going to take a craft knife, and it's really easy here because the pattern is already in the stamp, so it's pretty easy to kind of pick out a separate little block, and this is obviously going to be the kind of see-through portion of the spinner so that you can see all of the words. So I'm using that design ruler there, which has the metal edge to it, which is really important when you are using a craft knife so that you don't scrape off any of the ruler. And then here, just because I have cut quite far into the center of that stamp, I am going to create just a little circle. No one will end up seeing this, but it is just to strengthen the middle there, because I'm going to end up putting a brad through the middle. So I'm going to just cut a rough circle. As I said, no one's going to see it, so it doesn't have to be perfect. But if you do like things perfect, you could just use a little circle die, and then use a little bit of multi-medium and the matte finish and glue that on so that it is really nice and stuck down. Now, as I said, you don't have to turn this into a spinner card, but I felt like doing one today and I had the extra little bit of time, so I did have fun creating this. And as I said, I went for the simplified version, for me at least, that involves the least amount of thinking. So there's a few different ways that you can do these, and there are lots of amazing videos out there as well. Now, these brads here are really old and I have no idea where I got them from. If you don't have the right color brad, or you just have plain colors, then you can always use embossing powder. Just put some VersaMark ink on the end of your brad and then cover it in whatever color embossing powder, and then you just heat it up like you normally would, and that will change the color. Depending on what color it started with, you could perhaps use some alcohol inks or alcohol markers to change the color of the top. So there's lots of different options there, but this one here just happened to be that I had one that fit really well with the color scheme I was using. And I'm just making sure that the hole through the middle works and turns really well without being hindered at all. Then I have gone through with the Hero Arts Infinity dies, which is just a set of circle dies that are really, really close together. And I'm picking out one that is almost kind of the same size as the smallest parts of that stamp that come the furthest in, and this is going to be the bit that it will be at the back and stuck down onto my card. So I am just going to line these up as best as I can, because I need to punch a hole through that circle as well, and I want to make sure that it is nice and centered. So I'm kind of lining it up from the back to make sure it's centered right in the middle of that stamp. And then all I need is a little mark to go there with my craft knife, and that way I can see where I need to punch the hole so that the brad can go right through of both layers. Now again, this doesn't have to be perfect because this is the second layer down, so nobody is going to see that little hole that I have used the craft knife to create. And then this, again, I just keep checking all the way through to make sure things are going to plan, because if I kind of skip ahead too many steps, my brain doesn't work that well. So I always make sure that I kind of stop and check all the way through. Now this is where I need to put the words on. So luckily with this stamp, it is very symmetrical, so I'm able to just mark out every second little thing that comes out there, and then that way I have 6 things that are evenly spaced, and I've put a little pencil mark on all 6 of them. Then because the pencil mark is on the back there, I am just going to kind of move them over to the front so that I can see where I need to stamp all of the words. I probably could have just used the back because nobody would have really noticed that I was using the wrong side of the die cut, but I didn't think of that and I was just kind of on a roll. So now I have all of those little pencil marks, and you can see that I'm just going to add one word close to the outside, because I didn't actually, the little V that I cut out of the stamp does not go right into the center. So I want to make sure with these words, because some of them are a little bit longer, that they don't go too far in and get hidden. Now, as I said, this is the part where I'm going to cheat, because the other way that you can do this is to make this wheel spin. Now, the other version, which there are a few more steps to, is to make the top wheel spin. But this one is much quicker and much more my style, so I'm kind of going to have 3 words facing one way and then change it around so that 3 words are facing the other way. Now this is the drawback, because it kind of, some of the words kind of end up upside down when you're going around. The sentiment on the front doesn't quite match them, but that doesn't bother me at all, because I know that the recipient is kind of going to understand exactly what's happening. I don't think it's confusing at all. So I have stamped my 6 words there, so you can kind of see some 3 are to the right and 3 are to the left. Then I wanted this U die here. So this is, I think this is the thank you die set or something like that. It has thanks, thank you, and hello in it. And all I want is the big U word. So I have die cut that 3 times out of some white cardstock, and then I'm going to add a black piece of cardstock on top, and that is going to help it stand out from this very bright background that we have created with the stamp. I'm layering them up using some liquid glue, but you could easily use some double-sided adhesive like the stickered adhesive, which is a really nice thin adhesive which is easy to die cut. But honestly, I find the liquid adhesive just as easy. Whilst I was creating this card today, I did have my 2-year-old son sitting on my knee for a lot of this. However, most of the time he was really happy destroying a necklace that I was wearing as well. So I occasionally will have little hands appearing in and out, but I am getting this card done. Now, I had a couple of plans in my head for how I wanted to do the background of this card. The card base is a 6x6 card base, and the stamp that I'm using is around 5 by 5 inches, give or take, kind of at the longest parts there. So my son was getting a little bit restless, and so I was going for a quick option here. So I'm going through this paper pad. I found a gorgeous pink that kind of matches the pinks that we used, and luckily this is a 6x6 paper pad, so pretty much all I have to do is cheat and just glue it straight down, which is very helpful. So as I said, I had a couple of other ideas, but when I'm running out of time, it's just about making it work. And honestly, when I had finished this card, I thought this would have looked really nice without the moving components to it. So later on that night, after the kids had gone to bed, I also created the same card, but I did not take the little triangle chunk out of the stamp, and I just chose one of those 6 words that we used and kind of added it just like I did the little R there, which I stamped and heat embossed on the black one, because I wasn't sure which one I wanted to use, the white on the black or the black on the white, but I just did the same for the smaller word and then stuck everything down kind of so nothing moved. So I really like both versions of this card, but I didn't get any of that on film. That was something that I just did for myself, and often it's nice to sit down and kind of not have to worry about filming things and worry about batteries and lighting and all of those things. It's fun to craft for myself a little bit too. So here I'm just putting everything down. I've got that gorgeous big UR, and then everything was a little bit wonky, so once I glued that down I quickly pulled it back up, and then actually when I put this down again I still put it down wonky. So in a minute you'll see me at the very end quickly nick in and fix it, but you can see here that it actually does kind of turn upside down at times, but that doesn't bother me at all. I still really think that the recipient gets the gist of what the card is about, and I really like this nice, quick, easy, simple design. Just to bring in that black stamping a little bit more, I cut some really fine strips of black paper, and I'm going to create a border using these. You could just as easily use a nice thick marker and kind of use a ruler to draw lines down the side, or you could use some masking paper to mask it off and then ink up little borders like this. So whatever option works for you. And I ended up doing this on my other card as well because I feel like it really finished it off nicely. So I am just going to add a little bit of the liquid glue and then pop them down. It's really easy to line up because I'm using the background pattern there of that pink plaid pattern. So it's easy to kind of line everything up and make sure that it's straight. And then I will cut off the little ends with scissors, and we have a really nice little black border, which was super simple to create. So I hope you enjoyed creating this card today. I will leave links to everything down in the description box below. And if you create something similar or you are inspired by this card, then I would love to see your versions. And a great place to do that is over on our Facebook page. We have some of the most supportive, amazing people over there. So I would love for you to come and join us and show me your creations. You can leave a comment down below. I love to hear from you guys, or give me a thumbs up or share this video. That would be very much appreciated. And other than that, I hope you enjoyed it, and I really look forward to seeing you in the next video. Here I have definitely remembered that I need to shift that little letter, and thankfully I was able to, and now it is much straighter. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, bye!